Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my dear fellow Americans. Welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow on the East West Show with Jin ETV. Today we have good news for you. Joining me in sharing the good news is my good friend, Mr. Chris Nibby. He, most of the time, about 90%, is a director of Hollywood for filmmaking. He's a filmmaker, no doubt. He's a screenwriter, director, producer, everything, right, in the whole area. Other times, he's a philosopher. He's a special commentator for my show because this individual has the vision to see not only beyond the horizon, but also into depth. At the profound level, he always dig you out something that surprises you. With that as a lead line, welcome to the show, please, sir.
Thank you for the accolades. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Call it the prelude.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. The good news today is that in China, President Xi Jinping is doing a big thing that he starts visiting first Africa, several countries, and then the Arab countries, Arab United Kingdom of several.
United Emirates.
Emirates.
Abu Dhabi.
United Emirates. So that's a big move. And I want to get into the message, behind. What is China doing? What is China looking at? Versus the nowadays situation, and I would like to give the speaker to my dear friend Chris Nibby to find out to share what he thinks about it. Why would he put up a visit at this specific time to those countries?
Jack, I have ever since I started the Mysterious China series over 13 years ago, now having 20 films. I have spent almost every year half of the time in China. And over those 12 years, I have learned to appreciate China in a very particular way. And I have seen how there is constant change. And the changes I see from my, of course, limited viewpoint, because I do not speak Chinese, and I'm, after all, a foreigner. The Chinese are progressing step by step in the right way. And by having, for example, they have conquered Africa, and they have conquered Africa in...
What do you mean by conquered Africa?
Yes, I'm going there. They have conquered Africa in peace and harmony, creating win-win situations. Contrary to the Western imperial colonialists, who also conquered Africa, but in order to plunder and enslave it. It's a big difference. And China has created very good relations in Africa. They have not only do they import a lot of food and other products from Africa, especially natural resources, but they have in turn created infrastructure for Africa, which the European imperial colonialists didn't do. And there's now a train running from Nairobi to Mombasa. There are airports, there are sports stadiums, there are a lot of things going on in Africa, all courtesy of China. Of course, China has not done this as for nothing. They have received goods in return.
Kind of investment, isn't it?
It's an investment, but also it's an exchange for getting natural resources, and which Africa has a lot. So, you see, this is a smart philosophy, and this goes right with what I have learned, that Chinese desire to create win-win situations in peace and harmony.
Given the specific time point, though, by which I mean that U.S. and China are doing the trade conflicts at this very moment over tariff, going back and forth, tit for tat, so on and so forth. And this very specific moment, the president of China pays a visit to that land, which has been forgotten by the rest of the world for quite a long time, all of a sudden. Does that mean China is stepping forward to open up a new market?
The market, it has opened up that new market for a long time already.
Even before, you mean?
Oh yes, it is. China is so entrenched and so successfully operating in Africa as nobody else. Not only that, they also are now engaging in active exchange with the Arab nations for the very simple reason that this is all part of the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is a fantastic concept of the Chinese, and it was shunned by the Americans and their Japanese allies who have not joined it. In reality, the Belt and Road Initiative means that from the East China Sea to the shores of the Atlantic, thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, in Africa and Europe, there will be one huge marketplace being created, which has 60% of the world's population is serving that market.
I recall that you and I had a talk about this One Belt, One Road for quite a few times, and I do agree with you. That's such a big move, right? And my question is that also in consideration about what's happening now, could that mean strategically China moved in advance, even before the conflict started? Did that mean, or does that mean some kind of vision, or it so happened that way?
I think it has been the vision of China already for a long time to be independent from anything what happens in America. Because America has proven to, not only to China, but to Europe, as we see, to Russia, to be a very unreliable ally. And we do not know what goes on in America, and I don't want to go into this because it's neither here or nor the time for that. But China has very smartly extended its vision commercially in a different way, namely in cooperation, finding weak spots in other countries and trying to help these countries to overcome the weak spots.
Understand. We all the time call upon people, encourage people to take China in the broader sense, in a different way, understanding China, right? By learning its culture, by learning its background. So is it necessary for us to do the same thing, to make the same call to understand America from a historical point of view, from the cultural background, so that we have a better understanding of America mutually? Okay, now, I hear one thing for sure, that during all these wars of say, the Korea War, Vietnam War, Iraq War, Afghanistan War, the territory of the United States has not increased by 1 square inch. So it is a friendly country. It is a reliable ally. So do you think we shall also shape a little bit our ways of taking or understanding America, please?
No, it's not a friendly country at all, and it's not a reliable ally at all. All the wars you just mentioned have destroyed nations for good. Iraq now is in shambles, in total shambles.
Oh, Iraq is developing. It is growing fast.
I don't know where you
Have you read the latest report?
I don't know where you get.
The latest report says Iraq is doing quite so well.
Yeah, okay, good luck. I can tell you it's not. Wherever America has waged war in order to sell its product, its military product, it has created not only tragedy. Look into Yemen, which is supporting where America is supporting Saudi Arabia in destroying a country. Look at the unholy alliance with Israel, which is an apartheid state, where they are treating Palestinians worse than animals. So I'm sorry, you're wrong. China has never done any aggressive war in their thousands of years of history.
That's true. That I agree.
And let's talk about the good things or the smart things China has been doing. Because China is still a developing country, has a lot of problems, but what they're doing in Africa and in Europe is very wise and very smart. It's for the benefit of China.
Friend, today with me is my good brother Chris Nibby. We're sharing the good news about a visit paid by Mr. Xi Jinping to Africa and to the United Arab Emirates. So we'll be back right away. Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience, ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. Chuck Chow here, talking about the big move of China. But right now, as we speak, Mr. Xi Jinping, President of China, is visiting Africa and the United Emirates. So, a big move, I should say. What I said before, like when we started the show, though, I know it's a big move, but I want to get behind the visit to see if there is a message to be delivered. So I sense about that China at this very specific moment is looking to open up their market, in other words, namely to Africa and the United Arab Emirates. So you think that could be confirmed, right?
Yes, and it's interesting that China has been following this strategy for a long time. They have been very close to Germany. I don't know if you're aware of that. And years ago, they started to develop with China together the largest inland port in the world, which is situated in Duisburg in Germany. And it is the start and end point for freight trains that travel regularly between Europe and China. Every week, about 400 trains connect Duisburg with more than 80 destinations in Europe and Asia. Currently, 30 trains weekly on various routes between locations from China to Europe travel back and forth. These trains from China bring electronic goods and products and general merchandise to Europe and return with European-made consumer goods as well as spare parts and machinery. But it's not only a logistic train hub, it's also because in Germany we have a lot of channels, you know, like you have the
canal.
You have the Grand Canal. In China we have a lot of canals like this. So there are also thousands of boats which are shipping, not only trains, which are shipping on those inland waterways the goods. This has
the shallow craft. Right?
Yes, this has been going on for years now. And more or less unobserved by the international media. The figures I just mentioned to you are facts. And so, you see, these are things
In other words, what you were saying tells me that United States, even though it's a big market for China, that's not the only market. Now they open up Africa, and especially South Africa, and then the United Arabic, and then looking at Europe at the Duisburg for a center of the hub, though, you're talking about the other, at least 2 or 3 markets are opening up at this very moment. Right?
No, I wouldn't say opening up. They have been opened up already.
They have been opened
since
up,
a long time. Only now we are starting to
coming into functioning.
Comes into focus, and it comes into focus because of the trade wars which have been going on between America and Europe and China, because not only China. So you see, China has a long tradition of philosophy. If you read the Tao Te Ching and you hear the wise words of Lao Tzu.
You're an expert of Tao Te Ching.
Oh yes, I love it. I have always a Tao Te Ching with me when I travel. And if you listen to the wise words of Confucius, there are no hasty decisions. Everything is long-range planning. And that is why China nowadays is going up, and after years of going up and going down, and now it's going up, and the rise of China cannot be stopped because it's a total different thought pattern than that of us. Because we always want to have the quick fix. For example, take Chinese traditional medicine. It's all based on trying to find what causes the pain. Here it's very simple. You go to a doctor, you say it hurts here, he gives you a pain for this, a pill for this. It hurts there, he gives you another pill. At the end you walk out, you have a handful of pills for those symptoms, each individually. But he doesn't look at you in a holistic way and at the whole person. And that's the difference between East and West.
But my opinion is always that what does the best, though, is that we combine both, the Western system and the Eastern system, that will bring the best of outcome. Right?
I agree with you.
Do you think so?
Oh,
do
yeah.
you agree with me?
But the Chinese do
you
that.
You mentioned about Tao Te Ching, right? You mentioned about Tao Te Ching and Lao Tzu. And then the American problem is that we do not even know there's a Lao Tzu and his philosophy existed. Right?
That's it.
Make them aware of it. In the meantime, we shall go back to American history, make American history understood by Chinese. So that, and doing the same thing by combining the two, like we do the Eastern medicine and Western medicine, we get a better treatment to people, right? So, do you think if I call for that, I make a right approach?
My dear Jack, this is a very noble approach, and it shows your high humanity.
Oh, thank you.
But it doesn't work that way because it's too late. It's too late. You cannot. There is a point now where the confrontation is so dramatic, and there is America basically struggling to maintain its way of life, and there is all of a sudden somebody like China who is doing it their way, and they're very successful. But they are still a developing country with all problems associated with
That's
that.
a very good recognition. That's a very valuable recognition. My problem is sometimes people might forget that, right? That's a good reminder to even my Chinese people, right? Even my Chinese friend, remind them they are still developing country. That will probably come down the trend. Do you think so? I mean, the rebounds.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the inner workings of this, but all I can tell you is that I progressively see that China is changing, and changing in a way which is just unbelievable. For example, if you take train stations in China. They are so perfectly organized. The trains are on the minute. The trains go across the countryside at speeds unheard of. And airports. Everything is so exact and very well organized and precise. And I don't see the same here or even in Europe. It is just they have taken advantage of the best we have to offer and have made it even better for their own use.
Let me help you a little bit. In consideration of the whole thing of giving a definition about being advanced, there is always a fact to think about historical line, the curve, the linear line of developing. I'll give you an example. Highway 10, I-10, right, is relatively backward when you compare to I-105. Why? Because I-105 was built 50 years later than I-10, right? When lots of technology, certain technology was not available, was not even given birth to at a time when construction of I-10 started, right? And then later, when you started with the I-105 though, lots of technology is available. Now, it is wrong to criticize I-10 in the meantime by praising I-105. Say 105 is such and such, and I-10 is such. You always have to be fair to include yourself a thinking of the historical line where the curve's about. Do you think I make a point?
You're making a point, but the point may not be as relevant as you think. Of course, you're right. But why, for example, has America an absurd military budget? Why don't they take half of that budget and put it into infrastructure? Here, the word infrastructure does not seem to be some urgent matter. And it is urgent because the infrastructure is crumbling.
You raise another point. That is good.
In China, there is no infrastructure crumbling because they didn't have any infrastructure, so everything they're doing now
I agree
new.
I agree a lot.
So, for example, why not do this? And
one thing for sure, if you're successful, you are always successful on the shoulder of your forefathers.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And then it goes on and on and on and on. That's how human race evolved.
But you see, why is America not learning from that, what you said? Because the forefathers, they were apparently pretty smart and did a good job, because for a long time, America was, everybody wanted to be there because it represented something, spiritual freedom. People, if they worked hard, there were no social limitations, there were no religious limitations. People could succeed by their own work. Now, this is no longer the case. America is no longer what it was. And that is a problem. So you cannot go and blame China for the problem America has, because it's not China and it's not Europe. It's an inherent problem of this country.
Exactly. And in China, it is inherent of these older feudal system. Yeah, it's the whole thing. It evolves into what it is now. The same happens with the United States. So, comparison, criticism does nothing at all.
Right.
Shake hands and find out each other. So, how can I help you? How can I help you? All right? Only by doing this, rather than you owe me this, you owe me that, and then
absolutely right.
And you end up in a fight.
And it's an endless chain of misunderstandings.
Very good.
Yeah.
My dear friends, to to feel happy about today, not only we talking about the visit of China President Xi Jinping to Africa and to the United Arab Emirates, but also the fact that we touch some philosophical ground of the issue. As a conclusion, we would say to shake hands between two countries, to find out, always ask a question that, how may I help you? Instead of saying that you owe me this, and the other party, your counterparty, will say, hey, you owe me that, right? That will end up in nowhere. All right, my dear friends, we'll take a moment. We'll be right back. When we are back, though, we pick up another issue, which is whistleblower versus national security. How about that? Stay with us, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, welcome back to the show. However, back to a different subject. We're talking about another issue and a figure that's almost been forgotten by the public. That's Julian Assange, who is being talked about once again all over the world, at least by some of the sensitive media. So with me is my good friend Chris Nibby. We're sharing some latest update on this issue, please, Mr. Assange. So, please.
Once upon a time, the American media was the voice of reason, fairness, and moral integrity. Today, it has degenerated into a shameful voice celebrating hegemony, injustice, inequality, and celebrity cult.
I told you many times I hate conclusion, especially when you started with conclusion. I hate even more. All I need is the facts. So let's talk about Assange.
I'm
all right?
coming to the fact now.
Okay, please.
The failure.
Let's bring in Assange.
Yes.
Assange here.
That is why
subject person.
That is why the failure of the media establishment to defend Julian Assange, who has been trapped since 2012 in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, is a sign of how corrupt the American mainstream media has become. Its failure to support him, because there should be an outcry about the injustice being served to this man who has only done what everyone should do. If you see something really wrong, you have to report it, and that's what he did.
Of course. When you basically are talking about Assange being a whistleblower, of course, whistleblowers needs to be protected, right? And by law and by common practice, whistleblowers always are respected, are protected, because they bring whistles to bring you the alert, right, of what's happening, what had happened, what will happen, things like that. Yet, it is always important to look into the content of what he is blowing or she is blowing up. So, I think you will agree with me. So the same thing, same rule applies everywhere. Do you think so?
Yeah, but you see, it's very easy to call everything for national security, everything protected by national security.
Not necessarily.
That's what's being done. In the case of Julian Assange, or in the case of Edward Snowden, and the whistleblower Manning, the soldier who actually fed the information to WikiLeaks, who then published it. You know, governments always find a pretense to make a wrong look right. And I think in this case, it's a scandal the way the Julian Assange has been treated, because he did only something which everybody of us should do: report a wrong when it's
Please
time.
do not understand me wrong, right? I'm not accusing Mr. Assange, right? I'm not accusing anybody, right? All I wanted to say is that there is always a limitation. There is always an issue of public safety and national security concerns. So am I right? As a country, you always have certain secrecies that you want to keep to yourself.
Why do you want to keep them to yourself?
Because it's the national security. For example, all right, we have XYZ numbers of spies in Russia. They are in a certain city whatsoever, right? Who knows? Certain people know. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And vice versa. The Russians have their spies all over the United States in several cities, and they have even a list of it, right? And who knows? Certain people know. This is a secrecy, national security-related secrecy, and you have, number one, to protect those lives of the agents, right? Number two, to protect the security of a nation. So, do you think secrecies exist?
It exists, but is it necessary? Why are spies necessary? For what? Why do I have to spy?
Well, for national safety. If you want to launch an attack in the United States, I wish to know it about a month ago.
Why don't we stop thinking about attacking each other?
No. It is the world now. It is the world now. The world is full of conflicts.
Yes.
Right? And somebody is secretly making atom bombs, nuclear bombs, right? And people are trying to put away from it. So, this is the world, the nature of the world. There are always somebody preparing, sharpening their knives, ready to kill. This is the nature of the world. And for protection, for national security, and somebody has to do the job, right? And when you're doing the job, there is certain level of security-related secrecies to be kept. Now, beyond that line, okay, speaking of freedom, okay, you feel free to say Jack Chow is not a handsome guy, right? Go ahead, do it, right? I will not die from it, you will not die from it either. So, do you think that's a very strong argument, please?
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
I don't buy this because, you see, this high thought is constantly abused. Because under the guise of this security, and we can't talk about it, and this and that, a lot of bad things are happening which you would not endorse if you would know about it, because they're inhuman, unjust, and incorrect. I don't like this hiding behind. I don't like hiding behind something. I just don't like it.
I'll give you a joke. That probably explains, right? Say, once upon a time, a president of the United States want to find out amongst the local police department and FBI and the CIA who does their job better, right? Now, he faked a situation. He called the FBI and director, saying, see there, over there, there's a little wood, all right? I just saw a Russian bear went into it, right? Go ahead and find it. So the FBI, within 3 days, coming out, say, a report to President, sir, that we, for 3 days, used all the technology, devices, and everything. We searched almost every leaf of the tree. We did not even find a bear. We did not even find a DNA of a bear. So there's no bear in the wood, right? Conclusion, right? And then the president says, okay, dismiss, right? And there goes the CIA director, and with the same assignment, says, okay, there is a bear, so on and so forth. Hey, okay, take it easy, sir. Consider done. Consider job done. Within 3 minutes, there goes a fire, and the whole forest, the whole wood started burning, and in about 2 hours, it burned down. And there came the report of the director of the CIA saying, hey, sir, it is safe. regardless of how many bears get in or did not get in whatsoever, the forest and the wood did not exist at all, so we're safe, right? And then, okay, dismissed, and then in turn, the president, called the police department, all right? The head of the police department went in with his man. 3 days later, came out kind of crippled, and I said, sir, I lost 7 of my best men in searching, right? So we didn't find a bear. We found a rabbit that was almost done. Would that do? Right? So that tells you everybody has different job, right?
But
the CIA job is to make the country safe at whatever cost. It might cost you freedom, okay.
But it also shows you how ridiculous everything is.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, so. I agree. That I agree.
And you see, I want to tell you something. The fact that, you know, I have found that one of the major traits of the Chinese people is they want to make things happen. If it doesn't go this way, which is the traditional way of the West, we must do this way. They try to make it happen this way, or this way, or this way. That is a very, to me, a very nice way of trying to make things.
What does it have anything to do with Assange?
No, but it has, yeah, it has. Because if a Chinese says no, really no, it's a no. We are using no as a negotiating tail. And our no is a half yes and a half no, and that has to do with...
No, I totally disagree.
I'm sorry.
It's exactly on the contrary.
No.
Chinese no might not mean no. It is the American no that I say is no. It is exactly the opposite way.
My experience is different.
Well, anyway, I'll give you an example, right? Even in language. Do you like a mug? Do you like my coffee mug? Or I say, you don't like my coffee mug, do you? You say, no, I don't. Your name means no. Your no means no. Okay. In Chinese, we say, you don't like my coffee mug, do you? Yes, I don't. That's the Chinese way. Does that convince you? In thinking, by philosophy, Chinese no might be offensive. Chinese always say, yes, I do not agree with you. Something like that. The yes in respect to you, because you just said, you do not agree with me, right? I said, yes. I say, yes, I do not agree. Because the yes shows my respect to you, and the no, I don't agree, only refers to my position. So, see the contradictory? Exactly different. My dear friends, we're going too far. Probably we should drag us back. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, I'll do less and let him do more, all right? Good. I'm very sorry. Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the discussion. With my friend Chris Libby, we always have a good time because I feel totally freed up when talking, so sometimes I may end up doing more than he does, my guest. So I'm sorry for that. So I'll give the microphone back to him, though. My dear friend Chris Libby, Hollywood director, I respect him for not only his credential, monumental credential sky high of his Mysterious China series, 19 films already, working on his 20th, but also for the fact that he is the one, he respects evidence every time in the film when he talks about a point, though, he would spend his own time, bury himself in archives for month after month, right? So to just make a point clear. So back to this point, though, there is literally no argument between us because we do agree that Assange, Mr. Julian Assange, deserves his freedom, right? And the only argument, if we do have a argument, is that in between the defect that I, from my stand, I hold my last fort that as a country, you always have a bottom line. The bottom line means your national security. So for that, I wish you would agree with me with my little
The question is,
bottom line.
the question is, my dear friend Jack, has the WikiLeaks publications of the leaked documents endangered the United States of America? I don't think so. I think this is a witch hunt which is being done against Julian Assange because they want to have an example. They want to show and scare every future leakers and whistleblowers, say, don't do that, that's what will happen to you. I mean, the man is already since years holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy.
And the British will get to him, right?
The British will get him for a minor offense, and then the Americans will jump in because for the Americans it would be a wonderful thing.
They will extradite him to here?
Yeah. That's the purpose of doing.
But he's not a United States citizen, is he?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He is Ecuadorian. He's actually an Australian citizen. Neither Australia has stood up for him, and the only one was the previous very humanitarian.
You mean Snowden?
Assange, the previous Rafael Correa, he was a previous president of Ecuador. He was a very humanitarian socialist, and he stood up for Assange and said, I give you embassy, asylum in the embassy. Actually, there has been a court of Inter-American Court of Human Rights that has ruled that political asylum seekers have the right to take refuge in embassies and or diplomatic compounds, and those governments who have given them asylum are obliged to provide safe passage out of the country to those granted asylum. With other words, actually Britain should give him a free passage to wherever he wants to go.
Back to Salvador?
Back to Ecuador, back to Australia, back wherever.
Ecuador or Australia.
But the whole thing is such a screwed up situation. It's a plain witch hunt, and he is the victim. And the whole thing is because you said it before, for that imaginary term, national security. Under the guise of national security, for example, the CIA has done things which are unbelievable. If you go into this, you will be surprised.
Yeah.
It's a witch hunt, and actually there will be no end to it because America is eager to have an example to show to all future leakers in witch hunts, leakers and whistleblowers, don't do that because that will happen to you. And that's the purpose of this ongoing drama.
I do agree with the fact that the U.S. had set up an example case to future whistleblowers, say, look what's happening to him, that will happen to you if you do the same stupid thing, right? And I also agree with you the fact that the punishment to him will be severe to make sure the warning, the deter works, right?
Yeah.
But I only ask you a favor to be a little neutral on this issue, to agree with me that there is, as a nation, there is always a bottom line. Otherwise, you're not calling yourself a nation, right? You're not calling yourself a country. right? Why do we have a border? Because we're a country. It is our sovereignty, all right? Okay, here's the line. Cross the line, you get killed, or something like that thing. All right, here's the bottom line for national security, national secrecy. As long as you agree with me, this exists, or this has a little room to stay legit. We have no argument at all.
I
Do you
do
understand
agree.
me?
I do agree with you, but unfortunately, this is being constantly abused, and in humanity,
It could be.
in humanity and inequality and injustice rules.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
a fact.
I agree. I give you an example: the documentation of Kennedy assassination, JFK assassination, right? Never released, and then it was released recently. And when it goes to Donald Trump's hand, Donald Trump, a liberal, a total liberal, considered of having no guards over his lips, though, he says no. We will still want to reserve 30%. Why? Because of national security there.
Or that
Or-
it will show that what really happened is quite different and would not be good to be revealed at this time.
Absolutely, absolutely. What if JFK was not assassinated by the very accused guy?
Right.
What if?
Yeah.
Right? What if the should-be assassinator has still some benefit, something with the nowadays United States? What if? Right? That will overturn the whole thing, flip off the table.
Yeah.
Right? So now, from a security point of view, that point of view, we would want to keep it for a secret, let time take care of it. Right? That's why we all have a time capsule, right? 100 years later, let's see, or something like that. Okay? As long as you agree with me with this bottom line, though, you and I, we have no argument at all over the Assange issue. This guy deserves freedom. This guy deserves to go back to his own country, or either Australia or Ecuador or whoever, right? So that's it. Let him be a free man. Well,
Yeah.
find a job, do something, support yourself. That's it.
Yeah, but you see, our moral, social fabric is so deteriorated that really nobody cares.
Yeah.
And the media does not, and the media should stand up for him because he is one of those, because there is a war on freedom of the press going on in America. And this is just another example.
You are fighting a war for freedom of press. You are fighting still for limited freedom of press.
Right.
You're fighting about the limited freedom of press. There's always a limited freedom of press, not infinitive. Not,
Correct.
yeah, right? So you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Very good. My dear friend, my lovely audience, today we put together two issues. One, we talk about the President Xi Jinping of China visiting Africa and also the United Arab Emirates, Emirate countries, such a word on my tongue. Anyway, well, that we believe will help China open market. The market, according to my friend Chris Nibby, has already been there, including some European market, such as in Germany. And the next we talked about William Assange, the guy supposed to be released out of the embassy of
Ecuador.
Ecuador.
Not to be released, kicked out
kick it out.
by
kick it
the
out.
new president.
In the meantime, the British will get him, right? We will get him, and the United States we will get him, as to how we shall punish him, quote unquote punish him, versus the freedom of expression, we want a silver line cut in between, see how much this guy deserves, how much this guy does not deserve, right? This is the whole thing. My dear friend, thank you for watching. We love you so much. That's why we try so hard to bring information to you that we believe you deserve to know. And to my friend, Chris Nibby, excuse me for my disagreement though.
谢谢你老朋友.
Good.
We are always friends.
We're
Nothing
always
is going to
friends.
change
Yeah,
that.
sure.
But
Good.
we
Very
may
good.
have some different opinions
Okay,
once in a while.
We will fight. I'll punch your nose. Good.